Captain Jake Morrison stared at the endless black void through the bridge windows of the Undis Discovery. 3 years into their mission beyond the solar system, his crew had grown comfortable with the routine of deep space exploration. The ship hummed quietly as it moved through the Kepler 442 system, scanning planets and collecting data that would help humanity understand what lay beyond their home. Dr. Lisa Rodriguez looked up from her science station with excitement in her eyes. She had been monitoring strange energy readings for the past hour, and the patterns were unlike anything they had encountered before. The readings suggested artificial construction, which could only mean one thing in this empty region of space. Commander Ryan Clark checked his tactical displays for the 10th time in 5 minutes. His training told him to be ready for anything, but nothing had prepared him for what they might find out here. Maya Singh worked quietly at the engineering console, keeping the Discovery running smoothly while they investigated the mysterious signals. The energy readings grew stronger as they approached the 4th planet in the system. Jake ordered the ship to slow down and take a defensive position behind one of the larger asteroids in the area. They needed to be careful about making first contact with whatever civilization had built the structures they were detecting. Lisa gasped as her sensors picked up massive objects moving in their direction. The readings showed ships that were easily 10 times larger than the Discovery, with energy signatures that made human technology look like primitive fire compared to fusion reactors. Jake felt his stomach drop as he realized they were about to meet their first alien civilization, and humanity was clearly outmatched. The alien ships appeared on their screens like floating cities made of gleaming metal and crystal. Their hulls curved in impossible ways that seemed to defy physics, and energy fields surrounded each vessel like glowing shields. Weapon ports along their sides could have swallowed the Discovery whole, and the power readings coming from their sphere. Engines made the human ship look like a toy. Jake ordered his crew to remain calm and prepare for contact. They had trained for this moment, but seeing the massive alien fleet made him realize how small and vulnerable they were in the vast darkness of space. The Discovery was humanity's best exploration vessel, but it looked pathetic next to the alien warships that surrounded them. A communication signal reached their ship, and the universal translator that Earth scientists had developed began working to decode the alien language. The voice that came through their speakers was deep and filled with what sounded like amusement. The alien was clearly entertained by something, and Jake had a sinking feeling it was their presence. Fleet Commander Thaxler of the Zephyrian Coalition introduced himself with the casual tone of someone greeting a child. His words carried the weight of absolute authority, and he spoke as if he were addressing insects rather than fellow intelligent beings. The translator conveyed his mocking attitude perfectly, making it clear that he viewed humans as nothing more than an amusing curiosity. Alien Commander explained that his people had been watching human attempts at space travel for decades. He described their technology as adorable and primitive, comparing their fusion drives to stone tools used by ancient civilizations. His crew could be heard laughing in the background as he listed the many ways that human technology was inferior to Zephyrian engineering. Jake maintained his diplomatic composure while his blood boiled at the alien's condescending tone. He responded with careful politeness, introducing himself and his crew as representatives of Earth and expressing hope for peaceful relations between their species. His words only seemed to amuse the aliens more, and their laughter echoed through the communication channel. Thaxler explained that the Zephyrian Coalition controlled this entire sector of space, and that dozens of worlds had already submitted to their authority. He described how other primitive species had tried to resist before eventually accepting their place as subjects of the superior Zephyrian civilization. His tone suggested that he viewed this process as natural and inevitable. The alien commander seemed genuinely surprised that humans had managed to travel between star systems at all. He asked detailed questions about their propulsion technology and energy sources, shaking his head in disbelief when Jake provided basic explanations. To the Zephyrians, humanity appeared to be a species that had somehow stumbled into space, travel centuries behind schedule. Lisa used her sensors to quietly scan the alien ships while the conversation continued. She discovered that their hulls were made from materials that didn't exist in human science, and their energy shields operated on principles that human physicists could barely understand. The technological gap between the species seemed impossible to bridge. Ryan monitored the tactical situation and counted at least 20 alien vessels surrounding their position. Each ship carried enough firepower to destroy Earth's entire space fleet, and their shields could probably withstand anything humanity could throw at them. He began recording everything for the intelligence reports that would need to reach Earth immediately. Maya kept the Discovery systems running while quietly analyzing the energy patterns from the alien ships. She noticed that their power distribution had certain rhythms and frequencies that might represent vulnerabilities, but the differences in technology made it hard to be certain about anything. Daxler eventually grew bored with the conversation and delivered his ultimatum with casual indifference. Earth had 30 standard galactic days to prepare a tribute of resources and submit to Zephyrian authority, or face what he called educational consequences. He described this as a routine process that helped primitive worlds understand their place in the galactic order. The alien commander explained that resistance was pointless and would only result in unnecessary destruction. He had personally overseen the conquest of 17 different worlds, and none of them had possessed anything close to the technology needed to challenge Zephyrian superiority. He recommended that humanity accept their situation gracefully and avoid the unpleasantness that came with defiance. Jake asked for time to contact his government and relay the Zephyrian demands. Thaxler agreed with amusement, saying that he enjoyed watching primitive species go through the stages of denial and acceptance. He assigned several ships to escort the Discovery back toward Earth, treating the human vessel like a curiosity rather than a potential threat. As they began the journey home, Jake ordered his crew to document everything they had observed about alien technology and tactics. Lisa worked to analyze the energy signatures and shield frequencies, while Ryan studied their weapon systems and defensive formations. Maya focused on understanding their propulsion methods and power generation systems. The alien escort treated their mission like entertainment, broadcasting updates about the primitive humans to other Zephyrian ships throughout the sector. They described Earth as another backwater world that would soon join their collection of conquered territories, and they invited other species to witness humanity's expected surrender. Jake maintained radio silence with Earth until they were far enough from the alien fleet to avoid detection. When he finally sent his report, he included detailed scans of Zephyrian technology along with tactical assessments of their capabilities. The message that reached Earth painted a clear picture of humanity's desperate situation and the overwhelming superiority of their new enemies. Admiral Susan Carter stood in the war room deep beneath the Pentagon, watching dozens of screens display information that would terrify most people on Earth. Captain Morrison's report had arrived 12 hours ago, and every major government on the planet was now involved in humanity's response to the alien threat. The public remained unaware that their world faced conquest by a superior alien civilization. President Richard Hayes entered the secure briefing room with Defense Secretary Maria Johnson and the heads of every major space agency on Earth. The weight of the situation showed on their faces as they took their seats around the polished conference table. Admiral Carter began the briefing that would determine humanity's survival or extinction. The screens around the room displayed images of the Zephyrian fleet that Captain Morrison had managed to record. The alien ships looked like floating monuments, to technological superiority, and their weapons could turn Earth's major cities into smoking craters within minutes. Every person in the room understood that conventional military resistance would be suicide against such overwhelming force. Alexander Webb stepped forward with a confidence that seemed impossible given the circumstances. As director of the most classified project in human history, he had been waiting for this moment for 30 years. Project Titan had consumed trillions of dollars and the efforts of the world's best scientists, all based on the assumption that humanity was not alone in the universe. Webb activated a holographic display that showed the real human space fleet, hidden in facilities that officially did not exist. The ships on the screen looked nothing like the primitive vessels that the public knew about, and their designs incorporated technology that seemed almost alien itself. Admiral Carter watched the faces around the table change from despair to amazement as they realized what humanity had actually built. The story began in 1947 with an incident in Roswell that the government had spent decades denying. The crashed alien vessel had provided humanity with their first glimpse of technology centuries ahead of their own, and reverse engineering that single ship had launched the most important scientific project in human history. Every breakthrough had been classified at the highest levels and hidden from public knowledge. Dr. Webb explained how teams of scientists had worked in underground facilities around the world, slowly unlocking the secrets of alien technology. The fusion reactors that powered their hidden fleet were based on designs found in the Roswell wreckage, and their weapon systems used principles that human science was only beginning to understand. The technological gap between public and private human capabilities was enormous. Chief Engineer Patricia Davis joined the briefing to explain the construction process that had taken place in secret for decades. Hidden bases on the dark side of the moon had assembled the largest ships, while asteroid mining operations had provided cover for building smaller vessels. The entire project had been disguised as routine space exploration and scientific research. Colonel Nathan Brooks, the military's top weapons specialist, described the arsenal that humanity had developed for this exact scenario. Their particle beam weapons could penetrate energy shields by operating on frequencies that most civilizations never expected, and their armor used layered composites that could absorb tremendous amounts of damage. Every system had been designed specifically for fighting technologically superior enemies. The room fell silent as Webb revealed the scope of the deception that humanity had maintained for generations. The primitive space program that the public knew about was deliberately kept simple to avoid attracting attention from hostile aliens. Real human technology had advanced far beyond what any other species would expect from a world that appeared to be centuries behind galactic standards. Admiral Carter explained that Captain Morrison and his crew were still with the alien fleet, providing intelligence about Zephyrian weaknesses while maintaining the pretense of being intimidated primitives. D.R. Rodriguez had managed to conduct detailed scans of alien technology using hidden sensors that the Zephyrians had not detected, and her data was already being analyzed by human scientists. The intelligence reports revealed critical vulnerabilities in Zephyrian energy systems that human weapons could exploit. Their shields operated on predictable frequency patterns that could be disrupted, and their power distribution systems had weak points that precise strikes could disable. Captain Morrison's crew had risked their lives to gather information that could save their entire species. President Hayes asked the question that everyone was thinking about: the timeline for deploying their hidden fleet. Webb confirmed that the Titan-class warships were fully operational and waiting in concealed positions throughout the solar system. The human fleet had been ready for combat operations for over a year, and crews had been training constantly for exactly this type of scenario. Defense Secretary Johnson coordinated with military leaders around the world to begin the final preparations for revealing humanity's true capabilities. The deception had to be maintained until the last possible moment to ensure maximum tactical advantage when the aliens arrived, expecting to find a defenseless world ready to surrender. General Kevin Thompson and Space Command Director Helen Foster oversaw the movement of human ships into their attack positions. The vessels used stealth technology that made them invisible to the scanning methods that most alien civilizations employed, and they could remain hidden until the moment they chose to reveal themselves. Meanwhile, the Zephyrian fleet continued, broadcasting their superiority across the galaxy, inviting other species to witness humanity's expected submission. Fleet Commander Thaxler had turned the conquest of Earth into entertainment for alien civilizations throughout the sector, and dozens of ships from different worlds were traveling to watch the primitive humans accept their fate. The aliens detected what they assumed were Earth's pathetic attempts at defense, including outdated satellites and primitive orbital platforms that posed no threat to their advanced technology. They shared recordings of human military exercises with other alien species, using them as examples of how backward Earth civilization remained compared to galactic standards. Dr. Webb's teams worked around the clock to analyze every piece of data that Captain Morrison had transmitted about Zephyrian technology. The information revealed that the aliens relied heavily on their technological superiority and had never faced opponents who could match their capabilities. Their tactics were designed for overwhelming primitive civilizations rather than fighting. Admiral Carter received regular updates from the hidden human bases as final preparations were completed. The moon facilities had launched the last of their Titan-class warships, and the asteroid belt installations had finished loading ammunition and supplies for the coming battle. Humanity's secret fleet was larger and more powerful than anything the Zephyrians expected to encounter. The countdown to the alien deadline continued while Earth's leaders coordinated the most important military operation in human history. Every major nation contributed ships and personnel to the effort, putting aside all political differences in the face of an existential threat that could end human civilization forever. Captain Morrison sent coded transmissions providing final updates on Zephyrian fleet positions and defensive arrangements. His crew prepared for extraction as the situation approached its critical phase, knowing that their intelligence-gathering mission had given humanity the information needed to turn the tables on their would-be conquerors. The Zephyrian fleet moved through space like a parade of conquering gods, their massive ships casting shadows across the outer planets of Earth's solar system. Fleet Commander Thaxler stood on his command ridge, watching the primitive blue world grow larger on his screens, while dozens of alien vessels gathered to witness what he expected would be another routine conquest. Representatives from 17 different civilizations had arrived to observe humanity's surrender their ships, forming a great circle around Earth's orbital space. The Calaxian Empire had sent 3 heavy cruisers to document the event, while the Nexara Collective deployed their fastest scout ships to broadcast the proceedings across the galaxy. Every species wanted to see how the primitive humans would react when faced with overwhelming superiority. Thaxler had invited the audience because he enjoyed showing other civilizations what happened to worlds that tried to exist independently in Zephyrian space. The humans would serve as a perfect example of why resistance was futile, and their submission would reinforce the Coalition's reputation for invincible power. He had conquered 43 worlds during his career, and Earth would be just another. Entry in his record of victories, the alien commander reviewed intelligence reports about human military capabilities while his fleet prepared for the demonstration that would break Earth's will to resist. Their satellites were laughably primitive, using technology that the Zephyrians had abandoned centuries ago. Their space stations looked like metal cans floating in orbit, and their weapons could barely penetrate the hull plating of a Zephyrian. Maintenance vessel Captain Morrison remained aboard the Zephyrian flagship as their honored guest, providing information about human culture and military organization. The aliens treated him like a museum exhibit, asking endless questions about primitive human society while making jokes about their backward technology. Morrison answered their questions with apparent honesty while secretly transmitting coded intelligence updates to Earth.Dr. Rodriguez continued her covert scanning of alien technology, using sensors hidden in their personal equipment to analyze Zephyrian systems. She had discovered that their energy shields operated on rotating frequency patterns that changed every few minutes. But the rotation followed predictable mathematical sequences that human computers could calculate and exploit. Her data streams reached Earth through quantum communication channels that the aliens could not detect. Maya Singh worked quietly to understand Zephyrian engineering principles while maintaining her cover as a primitive human engineer. The aliens allowed her to observe their maintenance procedures because they found it amusing to show their technology to someone who could never understand or replicate it. She memorized every detail of their power distribution systems and structural weak points. Commander Clark studied alien tactical formations and command procedures while pretending to be impressed by their military superiority. The Zephyrians operated with the confidence of a species that had never faced serious opposition, and their defensive arrangements showed obvious gaps that could be exploited by opponents who understood modern warfare. He transmitted tactical assessments to Earth using hand signals that appeared to be nervous gestures. On Earth, Admiral Carter coordinated with military leaders around the world as the final countdown began. The hidden human fleet had moved into position throughout the solar system, using asteroid fields and planetary shadows to remain concealed from alien sensors. Every ship was fully loaded with weapons and supplies, and their crews had spent weeks rehearsing the attack patterns that would give them maximum advantage. General Thompson oversaw the deployment of Titan-class warships to strategic positions around Earth's orbital space. The massive vessels remained cloaked behind advanced stealth systems that made them invisible to Zephyrian detection methods, and their crews waited in perfect silence for the signal to begin humanity's counterattack. Each ship carried enough firepower to destroy entire alien fleets, but their success would depend on achieving complete surprise. Dr. Webb monitored the final preparations from his command center deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. His teams had analyzed every piece of intelligence that Captain Morrison's crew had provided, and they had identified the exact weapon frequencies and targeting solutions needed to penetrate Zephyrian defenses. The attack would succeed or fail based on their ability to exploit alien technological weaknesses. Space Command Director Foster coordinated with the hidden lunar bases as they prepared to launch the remaining reserves. The dark side of the moon housed construction facilities that could produce new warships if the initial battle went badly, but everything depended on the first strike achieving decisive results. Humanity would not get a second chance if their deception was discovered too early. The Zephyrian fleet began moving into Earth's inner system with casual confidence, expecting to find a world paralyzed by fear and ready to surrender. Faxler ordered his ships to take defensive positions around the planet, while keeping their weapons powered down to avoid accidentally damaging the infrastructure they planned to use. He wanted Earth intact so that human labor could be put to productive use. Alien observers positioned their vessels for the best view of humanity's submission, treating the event like a sporting contest rather than the conquest of an entire civilization. The Vorthan hegemony had brought recording equipment to document human reactions when they realized resistance was impossible, while the Epsilon Trade Federation prepared to bid on the most valuable human resources. Captain Morrison received the signal that the human fleet was ready to begin their counterattack. He acknowledged the message using a cough that sounded natural but contained the coded confirmation that Admiral Carter needed to proceed with the operation. His crew prepared for immediate extraction once the battle began, knowing that their survival depended on perfect timing The aliens grew impatient with Earth's continued silence and began charging their weapons for a demonstration bombardment of the moon. Thaxler wanted to show humanity the futility of resistance while leaving their planet intact for resource extraction, and destroying Earth's satellite would provide a clear message about Zephyrian power. He announced his intentions to the gathered alien observers, who prepared to record human despair. Dr. Rodriguez transmitted the final intelligence update about Zephyrian shield frequencies and power grid vulnerabilities. Her data reached Admiral Carter's command center just as the alien fleet finished moving into their attack formation around Earth. The timing was perfect for humanity's counterattack, and every detail of the alien formation had been analyzed and prepared for. Maya Singh completed her assessment of Zephyrian structural weak points and transmitted the targeting data to human weapons specialists. The aliens had never bothered to armor the connection points between their hull sections because no enemy had ever possessed weapons accurate enough to exploit such small targets. Human precision targeting systems could hit those weak points. With devastating effect. Admiral Carter gave the final order to begin humanity's response to the alien ultimatum. The hidden human fleet powered up their weapons and prepared to decloak simultaneously around the Zephyrian formation. Earth's secret was about to be revealed, and the galaxy would learn that humanity was far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. Fleet Commander Thaxler watched his targeting systems lock onto Earth's moon, preparing to demonstrate Zephyrian power with a bombardment that would terrify the primitive humans into immediate surrender. His crew worked with casual efficiency, treating the destruction of a celestial body as routine maintenance rather than an act of war. The alien observers positioned the recording equipment to capture human despair when they witnessed their satellite being vaporized. The space around Earth appeared empty except for the primitive satellites and orbital platforms that the aliens had already dismissed as harmless debris. Thaxler's sensors showed no signs of significant human military presence, confirming his assumption that Earth lacked any meaningful defense against superior alien technology. He prepared to broadcast his victory across the galaxy as another example of Zephyrian supremacy. Admiral Carter's voice echoed across every communication frequency in the solar system as she gave the final order to begin humanity's counterattack. The hidden human fleet received the signal simultaneously, and space began to shimmer as dozens of cloaked vessels deactivated their stealth systems around the alien formation. The emptiness of space transformed into a carefully orchestrated ambush that caught the Zephyrians completely off guard. The UNS Leviathan materialized directly behind the alien command vessel, like a metal mountain emerging from nothingness. Captain Elizabeth Kane stood on the bridge of humanity's first Titan-class warship, watching her tactical displays show perfect positioning around the enemy fleet. The Leviathan dwarfed even the largest Zephyrian cruiser, its hull stretching for miles and bristling with weapons that had never been tested in actual combat. Thaxler stared in shock as his sensors detected the massive human vessel that had somehow appeared within striking distance of his flagship. The ship's energy signature was impossible according to everything the Zephyrians knew about human technology, and its design incorporated principles that seemed decades ahead of Earth's apparent technological level. His confident smile disappeared as he realized that humanity had deceived his entire civilization. Dozens of human strike cruisers and destroyer-class vessels decloaked around the alien formation, their positions carefully calculated to provide overlapping fields of fire that would prevent any enemy ship from escaping. Each human vessel moved with precision that demonstrated advanced tactical coordination, and their weapon systems powered up with energy readings that matched or exceeded Zephyrian capabilities. Captain Kane opened communication channels to address both the alien fleet and the galaxy-wide audience that had gathered to witness humanity's expected surrender. Her voice carried the authority of someone who had spent years preparing for this exact moment, and her words would be remembered by every civilization that heard them. She spoke with calm confidence that made the alien observers question everything they thought they knew about human capabilities. Admiral, Carter's transmission reached every alien vessel in the system as she revealed humanity's true nature to the galaxy. Earth was not the primitive world that the Zephyrians had assumed, but a civilization that had been preparing for this confrontation for decades. The apparent technological inferiority had been carefully orchestrated deception, designed to avoid attention until humanity could defend itself properly. The first human weapons fired without warning, their particle beams cutting through Zephyrian. Shields like they were made of paper rather than advanced energy fields. D.R. Rodriguez's intelligence about alien shield frequencies proved devastatingly accurate, and the human weapons operated on exactly the right frequencies to bypass Zephyrian defenses. The alien flagship's shields collapsed under concentrated fire that should have been impossible for primitive human technology. Faxlers. Command vessels shuddered under impacts that its designers had never anticipated, and damage reports flooded in from systems that were supposed to be invulnerable to attack. His weapons officer reported that human ships were somehow immune to their plasma cannons, absorbing energy that should have vaporized any vessel smaller than a Zephyrian dreadnought. The tactical situation was reversing faster than his crew could comprehend. Commander Clark led a strike team aboard the rescued Discovery as captain. Morrison coordinated the extraction of human intelligence assets from the alien fleet. The Zephyrians were too busy dealing with the surprise attack to prevent their prisoners from escaping, and Morrison's crew had memorized every detail of alien ship layouts during their time as unwilling guests. They moved through Zephyrian corridors with confidence born of careful preparation, but the alien escort ships found themselves surrounded by human vessels that moved with impossible precision and fired weapons that penetrated their defenses with ease. Captain Kane coordinated the Titan-class ships using tactical programs that demonstrated combat AI far beyond anything the Zephyrians possessed, and her fleet executed maneuvers that should have required years of training to perfect. Dr. Webb's voice joined the galactic transmission from Earth, explaining that humanity had learned decades ago that the galaxy was not empty and that survival required careful preparation rather than naive optimism. The Roswell incident had provided the technological foundation for humanity's secret development program, and every advancement had been hidden from potential enemies who might have destroyed Earth before humans could defend themselves. Zephyrian ships began exploding as human weapons found weak points that alien engineers had never bothered to armor. Maya Singh's intelligence about structural vulnerabilities proved devastatingly accurate, and human targeting systems hit connection joints and power transfer nodes with precision that seemed impossible for a species that had supposedly just discovered space travel. The alien observers who had come to witness humanity's surrender found themselves watching the destruction of the most powerful fleet in their sector of the galaxy. Calaxian cruisers powered up their engines to flee before the humans decided to attack neutral observers, while Nexari scouts transmitted emergency reports about the complete reversal of the tactical situation. Fleet Commander Thaxler tried to rally his scattered forces while his flagship continued taking damage from weapons that should not have existed. His crew reported that human ships were using technology that incorporated principles from multiple alien civilizations, suggesting that Earth had been studying and reverse engineering captured technology for much longer than anyone had suspected. Captain Morrison reached the Discovery with vital intelligence about other hostile civilizations in the sector, while Zephyrian resistance collapsed around them. His crew had gathered information about dozens of alien species during their time aboard enemy ships, and the data would help humanity understand the full scope of galactic politics and military threats. The battle became a rout as human tactical superiority overwhelmed alien forces that had never faced competent opposition. Zephyrian ships surrendered or attempted to flee, while their command structure collapsed under the realization that they had completely underestimated their intended victims. The species that had conquered 43 worlds found themselves helpless against humans who understood modern warfare better than civilizations with thousands of years of experience. Admiral Carter's fleet demonstrated that humanity's greatest advantage was not their hidden technology, but their ability to plan, adapt, and execute complex operations under pressure. The galaxy was learning that Earth's apparent primitiveness had masked a civilization capable of strategic thinking that surpassed species with far more advanced individual technologies. The last Zephyrian warship exploded in a brilliant flash of light that marked the end of their fleet's resistance against humanity's overwhelming tactical superiority. Captain Elizabeth Kane watched the debris field expand across her tactical displays while her crew secured the battlefield and began rescue operations for alien survivors. The battle that was supposed to demonstrate Zephyrian invincibility had instead proven that humanity was the dominant military force in this sector of the galaxy. Commander Thaxler found himself aboard a human vessel as a prisoner of war, his flagship destroyed and his crew scattered among the wreckage of what had once been the most powerful fleet in Zephyrian space. Captain Morrison stood before him in the interrogation room, no longer pretending to be an intimidated, primitive but revealing himself as an experienced intelligence officer who had gathered vital information about galactic politics during his time aboard alien ships. Admiral Carter coordinated the human fleet's expansion throughout the solar system as reports of their victory spread across the galaxy at faster-than-light speeds. The civilizations that had gathered to witness humanity's surrender now transmitted urgent diplomatic messages requesting immediate audience with Earth's leadership. The balance of power had shifted overnight, and every species needed to understand how this change would affect their own survival. Dr. Alexander Webb worked with teams of scientists to analyze the alien technology captured during the battle, comparing Zephyrian engineering with the systems that other civilizations had developed. The wreckage provided humanity with detailed information about galactic technological standards, and much of what they discovered confirmed that Earth's secret development program had achieved capabilities that matched or exceeded the best that other species could produce. The human victory broadcast reached dozens of worlds that the Zephyrians had conquered over the centuries, and within hours, those civilizations began declaring independence from their former oppressors. The Altarian Republic announced that they were expelling Zephyrian occupation forces, while the Centauri Federation declared their intention to join any alliance that Earth might establish to protect smaller civilizations from aggressive expansion. Captain Morrison interrogated Thaxler about other hostile civilizations in the sector, while human intelligence specialists analyzed captured Zephyrian databases. The information revealed a complex network of aggressive species that had been expanding their territories through conquest and intimidation, using the same tactics that had failed so completely against prepared human defenses. Earth now possessed detailed intelligence about every major military threat in their region of the galaxy. Commander Ryan Clark led teams of human marines through captured alien vessels, securing technology and information that would help humanity understand galactic military capabilities. The Zephyrian ships contained detailed records of their previous conquests, including tactical assessments of dozens of different species and their technological limitations. The data would help Earth identify potential allies and enemies in the complex political landscape of galactic civilization. Dr. Rodriguez analyzed alien communication networks and discovered that news of humanity's victory was spreading faster than anyone had anticipated. Species throughout the galaxy were learning that a primitive world had defeated one of the most powerful military forces in known space, and the implications were causing panic among aggressive civilizations while inspiring hope in their victims. Carter received diplomatic communications from 17 different civilizations within the first day after the battle, each requesting military protection in exchange for trade agreements and technological cooperation. The Helican Assembly offered to share their advanced medical technology, while the Draconis Union proposed joint research projects that would benefit both species. Earth suddenly found itself in the position of choosing allies rather than seeking. Protection. Maya Singh worked with human engineers to reverse engineer, captured Zephyrian technology while comparing it to the systems that Earth had developed independently. The analysis revealed that humanity's approach to engineering was fundamentally different from galactic standards, emphasizing adaptability and efficiency over raw power. Human ships were smaller and more maneuverable than alien equivalents, but their weapons and defenses were significantly more effective. General Thompson established the first human military bases beyond the solar system, using captured Zephyrian facilities as staging areas for further expansion into galactic space. The bases would serve as forward observation posts and diplomatic centers where Earth could monitor galactic politics while providing protection to allied civilizations. Humanity was expanding from a single world to a multi-system power within. Weeks of their first contact with alien civilization, Captain Kane received command of the newly established Human Defense Coalition fleet, which included both Earth-built vessels and captured alien ships that had been modified with human technology. The combined fleet was larger and more powerful than anything any single civilization had ever assembled, and its mere existence was forcing aggressive species throughout the galaxy to reconsider their expansion plans. Space Command Director Helen Foster coordinated with the United Nations to establish the first galactic embassy on Earth, where representatives from dozens of civilizations could conduct diplomatic business with humanity. The building became the center of interstellar politics overnight, and every major decision affecting galactic civilization now required input from Earth's leadership. The former Zephyrian territories declared themselves autonomous regions under human protection, establishing governments based on democratic principles that Earth helped them develop. Admiral Carter assigned human military advisors to help these new nations establish their own defense forces, creating a network of allies that extended humanity's influence across multiple star systems. Webb established research facilities on captured alien worlds where human and alien scientists could work together to advance galactic technology. The cooperation between species produced breakthroughs that neither group could have achieved alone, and the joint research projects became symbols of the new cooperative approach that humanity brought to galactic civilization. Captain Morrison received command of the first human exploration vessel designed specifically for diplomatic contact with peaceful civilizations. The ship carried advanced sensors and communication equipment that could establish contact with new species without the misunderstandings that had characterized humanity's first encounter with alien life. His mission was to find allies rather than enemies among the stars. The galaxy's political structure transformed as dozens of formerly subjugated worlds joined the Human Defense Coalition, creating the largest peaceful alliance in recorded galactic history. Species that had spent centuries fighting each other began cooperating under human mediation, and interstellar trade flourished as military conflicts decreased throughout the sector. The final scene showed T.R. Rodriguez working alongside former Zephyrian scientists in a research facility on Earth, developing new technologies that combined the best ideas from multiple civilizations. The former enemies had become colleagues and friends, proving that cooperation was more powerful than conquest for advancing galactic civilization. Admiral Carter stood in her command center, watching displays that showed human influence spreading peacefully across the galaxy, with dozens of worlds requesting membership in the coalition that protected smaller civilizations from aggressive expansion. Humanity had earned its place as a major galactic power, not through conquest, but through strength used in defense of others, and the respect they commanded came from their willingness to fight for principles rather than territory. The aliens who had laughed at Earth's primitiveness now studied human tactical manuals and diplomatic procedures, trying to understand how they had so completely underestimated the species they had intended to conquer. The galaxy had learned that humanity's greatest strength was not their technology, but their ability to unite different civilizations around common goals of peace and mutual prosperity.